Hello everybody. All right, for today's Knowledge November, we're going to talk about the difference in dressage saddles, knee blocks, thigh blocks, short, long, forward cut, straight cut. Okay, so everybody, all the different brands of saddles have different options, different versions of rolls. A knee roll, that is what we're most used to. This is what's been around the longest. So a knee roll is when you lift up the flap of your saddle and you have a roll underneath it, okay? Sometimes they take the sweat flap off and you would have a single flap saddle, but a knee roll is underneath, and then the flap on top will be molded or not molded, but either way there's a pad over the top and the knee roll is underneath the flap, okay? That's a basic knee roll. The good thing with the knee roll is that you can put your knee into that saddle, into the roll at all times. You can put your knee high, low, wherever you like to ride, short stirrup, long stirrup. It's just there, it's for support at all times, whereas a thigh block is only there when you need it, okay? So I find most amateur women prefer this type of saddle, or amateur riders we'll call them. Event riders, people that are mostly used to jump saddles, they're going to be more comfortable in a saddle like this because they can use their knees more. So obviously dressage saddle, the stirrup bar is further back. We talked about that in the tree in the other video. The deeper the dressage saddle is, the distance between the stirrup bar and the seat are closer. So the closer they are together, the straighter you're going to ride, okay? So this is actually a super popular dressage saddle for exactly what I just said: amateur women, people who aren't used to riding in dressage saddles, eventers, want help getting into a really good position but don't want to be forced into the position. Super comfortable. You can use these for trail riding, working eck, dressage obviously. So I'll show you what happens when I sit in it. So when I sit in this saddle, you can see my leg is right up against that knee block. I could ride shorter, longer, but I constantly have some support of this roll. So super comfortable, etc., etc. But I can use the roll at all times, okay? When I go to a thigh block, which you'll mostly see in monoflap type dressage saddles. So monoflap meaning you lift up the flap and there's nothing underneath. That's what a monoflap saddle is, okay? If you lift up the flap and there's still the front of the panel underneath it, that's a single flap saddle, okay? Monoflap saddle, external thigh block, okay? This is super thin, super close contact for riding, and the saddle itself is super close contact to the horse. Very deep, stirrup bar quite extended. This is a more advanced saddle than the last one, deeper, bigger, etc. This block says ride straight. You're going to have a very straight leg in it, okay? If you are riding in a thigh block and you're constantly pushing on these blocks with your knee, it's not fitting you correctly. So I will have people say, oh, I don't like thigh blocks. I don't like that because my leg hits the roll, or it's pushing into my thigh, or it's pushing into my knee. If it's doing any of those things, the block does not match your leg, or the seat size isn't correct for you. All the pieces have to come together correctly. You have to be in the right seat size and you have to have the right roll. If you're not in those correct things, then you need to find a different one. So thigh blocks should be available for most people. It's just a matter of finding the right one for yourself. So now when I'm in it, I am having to sit way more upright in my seat, a little bit more forward towards the pubic bone, and you can see I'm not pushing on that block, but I'm in a straighter position. Now if I need to do, canter transitions or collection work, I can push my leg forward into that and my leg just lays against this block. If you're constantly riding like that and pushing into it, the block is not correct for you, okay? So if you had shorter legs, like shorter, chubbier legs, or you have really, really long legs, so so you're having to ride in a shorter stirrup, you can go for a shorter thigh block. You see how little this one is? And it's also on a little bit more of an angle. So when I sit on it, I can actually, you can see when I naturally go in there, there's no contact here. But if I want to, I could ride with a more bent leg now. So if my hip flexors are too tight, or I wasn't used to that very straight position the last one put me in, this version gives me more room, okay? So you've got to get the right block for your body type. Now this is an interesting saddle because this is sort of going off of this is a single flap saddle. More forward cut, stirrup bar is a little shorter, and this is in front. The flap is in front of the pommel. This is to allow people that want to ride with their legs out in front of them a little bit more, or they're really long on the leg, or more of the European seat. This is a forward cut dressage saddle. So again, it is a knee block. I can push my leg up into the front of it and use it as a knee block, but I sit back here and I sit a little depth. A little bit more old school style, and some people really like that. That's great. We have a version for that. We'll go back to ye old Passier, and Passiers, of course, have the older ones had very minimal little knee blocks. You can see a little tear-shaped knee block down there. Okay, little flap, shallower in the seat. When I sit on this one, I have no support. Okay, is this a good or a bad thing? Well, yes, I can learn to have an independent seat on here. That would be at the detriment of my horse, because me learning to get my independent seat would mean he'd have to tolerate my poor riding, or I'd get a saddle that helps secure me more. But this saddle is not doing anything for me. That's not a bad thing. We can all work on learning to have more control of our bodies and being more aware of things. And these types of saddles, good for classical dressage. Again, if your hip flexors are very tight and you want to ride with your legs a little more forward, that's absolutely, you can do that in a saddle like this. And then we have these long straight blocks. Again, this is a thigh block. And when these first became super popular, we sold them to a lot of people that shouldn't have ridden in them, meaning that their legs, they were using these like knee blocks, and they actually warped the flaps. So they ended up with a lot of bends up here, and they pushed these flaps forward because they jammed their knees into it so much. So when they were riding, they were constantly doing that. And the force of it, because this is a 2-flap saddle, basically molded the flaps more forward and pushed the roll up the front, because they weren't designed to be used constantly. So again, this is a very straight up and down saddle. The block goes all along and low. If the top of the block is pushing into my thigh, it's because the seat is too small. And if my knee is pushing into the bottom of the block, it usually means the seat is too big. Again, with any of these videos, because I'm not following a script, and any more questions, anything you want to discuss, I'm happy to rediscuss all of these topics. On the bottom of the videos, you can ask more questions. We can discuss different brands of saddles. I'm just using what's in my truck. Anyway, take care.